Page 76, but as always, we'll jump around a tiny bit.
John, can you turn the heating up? Oh, thanks.
We've just muted Josie and we'll begin with Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem Shalom Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So I hope you're beginning to decompress, leave the outside world, come in and be together for Shabbat. And I'm delighted to ask Dalma to come and light candles here in the sanctuary. Let's all of us stand. Those of you who are at home, this is your moment to gather your candles, to light them. If you're in your garden, to have a go at making sure the candles stay lit. But whatever, but give yourselves just an intention to welcome in Shabbat, a moment to pause, to reflect, and to just be still. Page 75.
From Deacon's Embrace. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Let's sit down. L'chadodi, page 91.
L'chadodi לקראת כלה, בני שבת מקבלה. l'chadodi לקראת כלה, בני שבת מקבלה. l'chadodi לקראת כלה,
standing, before we go to the Baruch Hu, let's just mark Shabbat with a Maya Fe Hayom. We'll give Natasha a moment, just before we move into Mariv, into the evening service, just to hold on to that welcoming of Shabbat, of rolling into this, to this tiny moment of peacefulness, however we make Shabbat work for us.
Maya Fe'ayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe'ayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe'ayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe'ayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Now, if you're ready, let's call each other to prayer. That call and response of the Baruch Hu, saying, are you awake? Are you present? Are you ready to join us in prayer? Those of you who are at home, those of us who are here, there's a beautiful paragraph in the Shulchan Aruch that I'm going to use in our emails for Elul, that talks of how a congregation is made, a minyan of 10 people. No doubt our liberal understanding of a minyan is very different from those who are thought of in the Shulchan Aruch, responding to the Mishnah, but nonetheless, this idea of 10 Jews being inside a synagogue. And there's a beautiful line that talks of the rabbi standing, the Baal Tefillah, needn't be a rabbi, the Baal Tefillah standing at the gate of the synagogue, at the door of the synagogue. Thank you, Grazia. So the door of the synagogue, literally ministering to those who are inside the synagogue and those who are outside, maybe in some kind of courtyard. And for me, this paragraph of Shulchan Aruch catches me and reminds me that this is our modern day alternative. Some of us are at home, some of us are here, and yet we defy gravity to be a community together. We're on the foot of page 92.
La
So as we mark the passing of seasons of light and dark, the windows that I see from the bima are the same kinds of windows you see from sitting in your seats, noticing that every week the sky is different for us as we move through the year, and yet we gather for Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chochma potech sha'arim u'vitvuna mashane itim u'machalif et hazmanim u'masadeh et hakochavim b'mishmartehem b'rakia kirtzono boreyom v'layla kolelo mipnei choshech v'hoshech mipnei or u'ma'aveh yom u'mevi layla u'mavdil ben yom u'ben layla Adonai Tzavaot Shema Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat olam be'yid Yisrael Amcha ahavta Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachbenu Uv'kameinu nasiach b'kuchecha V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed Ki hem hayeinu U'vorech yameinu U'vahem nage yom v'layla Nage yom v'layla Ve'ahavta al tasir V'hom v'yame'amim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev amo Yisrael Ohev amo Yisrael
Let's go to the Shema. This Shabbat is Parashat Be'et Hanan that includes the Shema. We always think that the Shema is a prayer, but it's a piece of Torah, which is why we bookend it with blessings before and blessings after. And as Natasha does so beautifully for us, leads us in the Debbie Friedman rendition, the melody of the translation of the Shema. So the first, those words of Hebrew, hear, O Israel, the Eternal One is your God, the Eternal One. God is one. And then, of course, that commandment to cleave to God, to remember, to love, to use all the attributes we have, to pass it on to the next generation, and to make the words of the Shema, this Jewishness, permeate our lives so that they really serve as passageways for us in every aspect and day of our life.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Adonai Echad Baruch
be true and sure. You alone, Eternal One, are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You freed us from oppressors, delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name. We gave thanks, and willingly we accepted your rule, and full of joy we sang together. Beautiful. And it has been said, the Eternal One has delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And together we go into our evening prayer for Shalom Bayit, for domestic ease and peace with Hashkivenu, as we pray for a Sukkot Shalom.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom v'hamidenu Malkeinu lechayim.
Baruch atah Adonai, hapores Sukkot, Shalom Aleinu, v'yakol yoshvei tevel. So when you're ready, let's stand for the tefillah. We're reminded, as we talked about Tisha B'Av last week, and we had that moment of reflection for Tisha B'Av from a progressive point of view, the 9th of Av, the memory of the destruction of the temples. We're reminded of the changes that were brought in by the rabbis after the temple was destroyed. No more sacrifice, no more priests, no more acting for the common Jew, but instead this idea of synagogues and prayer, and the 3 times a day, Amidah, Tefillah, standing prayer. So here we are, we're on page 97, as we make it something that connects with our own hearts and souls, as we offer that kavanah, that spiritual direction for ourselves. We ask God, Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise.
Na 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 Adonai. Na 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 Chai Tita. Na 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 Ufi Adi. Ufi Adim Tehillah Techa.
Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, V'Hagibor, V'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo B'Yahava, Melech Hosea Moshiach Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Machaye Metim Ata Rav Lo Hoshiach, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGeshem, Mazriach HaShemesh U'Morid HaTal, Mechalkel Chaim B'Chesed, Machaye Metim B'Rachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim, U'Rofer Cholim, U'Matir Asurim, U'Makayem Emunato Lishnei Afar. Mi chamocha ba'al govorot, umi dome lach, melech meimit u'machaye u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lahachayot metim, baruch ata Adonai, machaye hametim. Kadosh ata v'nora shamecha, ve'in lanu Eloah mibaladecha, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Let's sit down as we mark Shabbat, as we remind ourselves that we do not live by bread alone, but by the spiritual nourishment that gathering together for Shabbat can give us. As we sing Vashamru with Natasha, we're on page 99.
Vashamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורתם ברית עולם.
Adonai Makadesh HaShabbat. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. May our worship now and always be acceptable in your sight. Baruch Ata Adonai, she'otacha levadacha b'yirah la'avod. And together, our prayer for gratitude, appreciation, as always, an invitation to those of you who are at home to share anything you feel appreciative for in the chat that we can bring into the sanctuary after. I'm aware there's echo coming from my microphones, so I'm trying to stand back a bit, but I apologize to those of you in the sanctuary for it. Modim anachnu lach, she'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu le'olam va'ed. Tzur hayenu, magen yishenu, ata hu lador vador. Nodeh lecha nsaper tehilatecha, al hayenu hamsurim biyadecha, v'al nishmotenu hapukudot lach, v'al nisecha shebachol yom imanu, v'al niflotecha v'tovotecha, shebachol eit erev v'voker v'tzoharayim, Baruch Ata Adonai, Atov Shimcha, Ulacha Na'eh Lohodot. So before we offer Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace, sometimes we are called to bring the outside world into our service, to allow us a moment of connection and resonance. And literally, as we arrived for our service, we heard the news that Salman Rushdie had been attacked whilst on stage in a conversation about writers, artists who suffer persecution. And I feel very much that I grew up under the shadow of Rushdie's fatwa, of that sense of when one was able to speak and when it was unsafe to do so. And I wanted to share in our prayer book tonight. So for those of you who have the full prayer book at home, or for those of you here, on page 293, these are the words of Rabbi John Rayner, Zichrono Livracha. John wrote the most extraordinary prayer for peace that calls on us to understand what it means to live with collaboration and compromise. And it seems so fitting for us to hear the echo of his words tonight. We know that Rushdie was taken by helicopter to hospital, and as far as I know, there has been no news since. It is not enough to pray for peace. We have to work for it, to challenge those who foster conflict and refute their propaganda, to ascertain and make known the truth, both when it confirms and when it runs counter to conventional views, to denounce injustice, not only when it is committed against us, but also when it is committed against others, to defend human rights, not only our own, but also theirs, to insist that peace requires sacrifice of pride, of wealth, or territory, to practice and promote the way of moderation, compromise, and reconciliation, and to build bridges of respect and understanding, trust and friendship across the chasms that divide humanity.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon leho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon. ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים
Somebody doesn't agree with peace here.
I know, right? Thank you for being as professional as always, Natasha, with carrying on with the music. Tech Desk, we're so grateful for all you're trying to do. We moved our Tech Desk this week from within the sanctuary to the back of the sanctuary, which is all towards the idea that we feel like we're back to a normal way of praying whilst enabling hybrid. So they may bear with us if we just have a few little hiccups tonight. Baruch Atah Adonai, Oseh HaShalom. We praise you, God, the source of peace. So this Shabbat is Shabbat Nachamu, the Shabbat we are called upon to comfort ourselves. From this Shabbat are the 7 Haftarot of consolation, of comfort between now and Rosh Hashanah. And this idea of comfort we'll talk more about tomorrow, but actually I invite us now, as we take a few moments for silent prayer, to think about the comfort that we get from home. And to have this Shabbat, the Et Hanan, remind us of the Shema, remind us of how our Judaism permeates our home, both when we rise up in the morning, when we go to bed at night, when we move around in our home, when we go on journeys, when we come back to our home through the gateways of the mezuzah, to when we leave again. What is it about home that gives you comfort? I invite us all to reflect on and think about tonight. The rabbis introduced the idea that the home, that literally our Shabbat dinner table, but our home is a mikdash me'at, a small sanctuary. And in that means all of us, whether we live in houses or palatial mansions, whether there's a mezuzah on every door or not at all. What is it that makes our homes places of comfort for us and allows us to navigate the world in which we inhabit? If necessary, we could switch off the microphones and just have one on, But anyway, sorry, sorry to home, sorry to hear. Our tech team are working very hard, I know. We turn now to Aleinu. We're on page 520. I can ask you to stand. Our prayer for our hope, for the future that we can create. So let's offer this together. Aleinu l'shabeach
Laton hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, אשר סמכנו לייחד את שמו, וגור עלינו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, מושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. את מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום מחשבותיך בלבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. We stay standing as we go to the Kaddish prayer tonight. We think particularly of those who are marking yard sites in our congregation, but tonight I wanted to add two names from a member of our community tonight, of the death of a brother and sister from Ireland who drowned this week, and whose names are being remembered in many communities. The names of Desi Byrne and Muriel Erickson, who lost their lives this week. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and may those who mourn them be comforted eventually in their loss. We turn now to the yahrzeit names in our community this Shabbat. We remember Gertrude Mickles-Webb, mother of Sarah Rosenwebb, Magdalena Reichman, grandmother of Dalma Loevi Araniba, Edna Kay, mother of, and Pamela Kinunan, sister of Anthony Kay, Greenie Mutkin, mother of Maureen Labato, Sydney Sampson, Shama Lev Ben Dov, Eliahu Sampson, father of Valerie Boyd Hellner, Simon Lesser, brother of Sheila King Lassman. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and may those who remember and recall their loved ones be comforted in their loss as we say the words of the Kaddish with them. We're on page 524. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yamad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'hayechon u'v'yom echon, u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, magala b'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah vorach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ah v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'rechu. Leila min kol birchata v'sherata. Tushbahata v'nechemata. Da'amiram v'yama v'imru amen. Yehesh Lama Rama Min Shamaya, Bahayim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael, Be'imru, Amen. Ose Shalom B'Roma, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael, V'Al Kol Bnei Adam, Be'imru, Amen. Sit down and go into final song. It might be nice for us to have Maya Pe Hayom again, as well as Yivarechecha, our evening blessing for each one of us. Most definitely children around in the world, that sense of us passing generation blessings to the next generation. But really we love to offer it on a Friday night to each other. So, but let's just remind ourselves of Shabbat and offer Maya Pe Hayom.
Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Maya Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
You can find it. I love it. Tonight I'm able to tell you the exact page that you need to go. Seemingly I've remembered it. It is page 563 as we follow the blessing for our children, just as my children walk in, which wasn't staged.
Yesimcha Elohim Ka'Ephraim B'chi Menashe Yesimech Elohim Ka'Sara Rivka Rachel V'Leah V'yarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha V'ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha V'yasem lecha shalom V'yarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha Yisa Adonai panav elecha V'yasem lecha shalom V'yasem lecha shalom.
Thank you so much, Natasha. Always a very special Shabbat for me when Natasha sings and leads us in. So we have Kiddush laid out. I think wine might be coming out, or we could suggest that everyone hovers around the table and we sing Kiddush together once you have your wine. Yeah, why don't you all come here? Rani's given me pause for thought about our chalot, more anon. Okay, are we ready with a little bit? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahav ratzon hinkilanu zikaron lama'aseh b'reishit ki hu yom tehillah lamikrayei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim ki banu baharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim b'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava u'ratzon minhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. And all of us together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for coming and making Shabbat with us. And a huge thank you to the three of you back there struggling. We are immensely grateful. So see you all for Shabbat Nachamu, those who care to join for Shabbat tomorrow morning here in the sanctuary. We're going to have even more interesting music and we look forward to seeing you.